A listener warning. Please be advised that this episode contains content that may be disturbing to some listeners, including descriptions of violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Life upon the wicked stage ain't ever what a girl supposes.
I'm Jen.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Olivia.
And we are, in fact, three different people.
This podcast focuses on true crime under the spotlight of arts and entertainment. So grab your beverage of choice and settle in.
Places, ladies.
Here's our episode. Hi, ladies. Happy New Year.
Oh my God. Jen, I am watching you sip your bevy. I'm doing dry January over here.
Wait, is it the same thing in both?
Yeah, it's just water.
Just water.
I just have 40 ounces of water over here, so that's
Gotcha.
Good for you.
Dare you be supportive of my endeavors? No.
It's fine. So Jen has, I count 2 beverages so
Three.
far. 3 patented. Olivia, what do you have?
Patented.
I'm just sticking to my water. It wasn't because of the alcohol. It was because of the gluten indulgences over the holidays. Olivia has paid for that in very specific ways.
Okay.
So I'm going to just water and gluten-free once again. We're back to gluten-free. So
Boo.
No, that's what
Yeah.
it takes sometimes.
Yeah.
To reset, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's not fair though. It's really
not fair.
No,
It's all good. It's all good.
Well, we are recording this in January. This is slated to come out sometime in February. So who knows what?
Who knows what fresh hell will greet us in February?
That's why I'm still drinking.
Listeners, we're banking a couple episodes here in January while we all have some bandwidth because, again, who knows what fresh horrors await us next month. Horrors, not horrors.
Not
No.
horrors.
Olivia.
Because we are fresh whores. So what are we talking about today?
Yeah, what are we doing, Jen? I know this
What a
one is going to
segue.
be...
Today,
Oh
we
my God.
are covering the Manson murders, specifically of Sharon Tate on Celio Drive in Benedict Canyon, Los Angeles.
Oh my God. Benedict Canyon, once again.
That's right.
And Benedict Canyon, Jen, refresh us. Where have we previously, what episodes have we talked about Benedict Canyon in the past?
Benedict Canyon was where George Reeves lived and was...
Superman?
I think murdered.
I
Yes.
think murdered. Yep.
Strange.
There was another one too, and I can't remember, but the Bogarts, right? Wasn't there something? Didn't they live there as well?
Battling Bogarts.
Battling Bogarts?
Yep. Also lived up the way in Benedict Canyon, where his third wife, Mayo Method,
Mayo, yeah.
tried and failed to kill him because she was basically just a lousy shot.
Yeah.
But she
shooting up. You missed.
and also some stabbery. Yeah. But Benedict Canyon. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you see a house for sale in Benedict Canyon, maybe don't buy it. It's not a good place.
It's, we like to think, that it's like, it's not cursed per se, but also a lot seems to be happening over in Benedict Canyon. And now obviously this, arguably the most infamous of any of the ones we've touched on to date. Yeah, Jen, get us in here, because I know this one is going to be dense, and I'm frankly shocked that you felt confident to put this into a single
episode.
proud
I have
of
my emotional
myself.
support law. Fresh
I need you to
whores. What
tap
fresh
out.
whores await? I think that's a good merch piece. What fresh whores await?
Floozies.
adding it to the list.
She picked up the pen.
I keep a little note, just like
so
always
glad.
standing by, and like I have a whole notebook full of just like these deranged Post-its from like merch ideas, and some of them like stand up like more than like a couple weeks, and some of them I write it down and I forget the context. I'm like, what the hell was this? But
I have worn my floozy hat many a day, and I always get compliments on it, which I love. And there's like, and I'm like, well, this is why it says it. I mean, I'm not just a floozy. Like, I mean, I am.
There's more
but
to
I'm
me.
not. Like, there's more
but
to me than just that.
Just that.
is of course gender neutral. Oh,
Yes.
I know what I was gonna say. This is housekeeping. I think you had asked about this when I bestowed upon you our floozy shirts and hats. Shirts and hats and shirts and hats. They are Listeners, if you too would like to be in possession of a floozy shirt or hat or other accoutrement forthcoming, they are in fact on our merch store, which can be accessed via our link in our bio on our Instagram.
Stop it, we have
It can now be yours. Check out our link in our bio on our Instagram. It is there for you. We will be adding to this over time, but the initial launch of floozy shirts and floozy hats are there for you right now. So check it out.
I love it.
So with that, Jen,
Yeah.
With that,
let's dive in.
then let's get into it. On the night of August 8th, 1969, Tex Watson took Susan Atkins, Linda Kasabian, and Patricia Krenwinkel to 10050 Celio Drive in Benedict Canyon, Los Angeles, California. Tex Watson claims Charles Manson had instructed him to go to the house and totally destroy everyone inside, and to do it as gruesome as you can. Manson told the women to do as Watson instructed them. The occupants of the house at Celio Drive that evening were movie actress Sharon Tate, the wife of film director Roman Polanski, who was 8.5 months pregnant. Her friend and former lover, Jay Sebring, a noted celebrity hairstylist, Polanski's friend and aspiring screenwriter, Frykowski, and Frykowski's girlfriend, Abigail Folger, heiress to the Folgers' coffee fortune and daughter of Peter Folger.
Oh, I forgot about that tie-in. Also, just to clarify, Roman Polanski wasn't 8 months pregnant. Sharon
Correct,
Tate
Sharon
was
Tate
8
was.
months. Okay,
Yes. Roman Polanski is famous, but not for that
but
reason.
no. Yeah.
Yes. Also present on the property were William Garrettson, the caretaker, and his friend Stephen Parent. Polanski was in Europe working on a movie.
Yeah.
So that is the setup. Before we get into the horribleness of all of this, and because this is an arts true crime podcast, we're going to talk about Sharon Tate.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think that oftentimes, well, most of the time, the victims get lost in the horror of what's going on, and everybody hyper focuses. I think because we're just curious as humans. Why the hell would someone do this? It's a morbid curiosity, but I like that we're going to talk about Sharon.
And it's not that the others there don't matter. Obviously, they do. There's just so much information on Sharon Tate. So Sharon Tate was born in Dallas, Texas in 1943. She was part of a military family and she moved around a lot. She even attended high school in Italy. Just a fun little note there. She went on to win beauty pageants and was even crowned homecoming queen. Aww. When she finally made it to Hollywood around the age of 20, she took on small roles in popular TV shows like The Beverly Hillbillies and Mr. Ed. So those were her beginnings. In the mid-60s, producer Martin Ransohoff?
Sure.
I'm so sorry.
Martin.
Sorry, Martin.
Martin, this producer.
We're just
in the
out here
60s.
trying, okay?
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. Introduced Tate to Polish actor and director Roman Polanski. They fell in love and got married in January 1968. By then, Tate was an up-and-coming 26-year-old actress, best known for her role as Jennifer North in 1967's Valley of the Dolls. So that's her really big one, is Valley of the Dolls.
Sure.
Right.
And that movie at the time too was that was like a movie. Like
Yes.
like it was.
What do you mean a movie?
Well, no. Let me back up. So there are people that we have maybe talked about on this podcast, and it's like, yes, this person is an actor. Yes, this person is like some level of famous. This was at that time, because I think it was a novel before it was a movie.
Yes.
But this was something that was like super zeitgeisty and very popular. And I think she actually played her Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But this was like someone of the status of like Margot Robbie in like a breakout.
She did play
role.
her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah.
Ironically, but someone of that stature. So it's like, oh, you have this actress that has been in like a big movie that came out just prior to this happening. So this was someone who was like very much like in the public eye because of the popularity of this film. So it wasn't like she'd had a long career at this point, but she had been in like one of the big movies of the year.
Yes. In fact, after she was murdered, the New York Times described her as one of Hollywood's most promising young starlets, even though her television and film appearances were not primarily in leading roles. I mean, they were bit parts in TV. Valley of the Dolls was her breakout role, just like you said. And it was one of those like, okay, here it goes. Here's the trajectory. It's going up. And then this horrible thing happens. So
not unlike like James Dean. Like he was in like 3 movies?
3 movies.
Before he died. Like that was it. Yeah.
And he's an icon.
Yeah.
And, you know, Sharon Tate is remembered as well. Sadly, I don't think for the right reasons. But,
for this.
But at least we know her name.
We do know her name.
Which is less than a lot of victims, sadly. So, okay. We're going to move into the night of the murders now. Tex Watson and the 3 women, there were 3 women, arrived at Celio Drive just past midnight on August 9th. So technically it was like that, August 8th, August 9th, 1969, right? Watson climbed a telephone pole near the main gate and cut the phone line to the house. The group backed their car to the bottom of the hill that led to the estate and walked back up to the house. Thinking the gate might be electrified or equipped with an alarm, they climbed a brushy embankment to the right of the gate and entered the grounds. Headlights approached the intruders from within the property, and Watson ordered the women to hide in the bushes. So somebody was coming. He stepped out and ordered the approaching driver, who turned out to be Parent, so the friend of the caregiver, Stephen Parent, the friend of the caretaker.
Sorry.
He was coming. So Watson stepped out and ordered him to stop, and then he leveled a .22 caliber revolver at Steve Parent, who begged him not to hurt him, claiming that he wouldn't say anything. Watson instead lunged at Parent with a knife, giving him a defensive slash wound on the palm of his hand that severed tendons and tore his watch off his wrist. Then shot him 4 times in the chest and abdomen, killing him in the front seat of his white 1965 Rambler.
Ugh.
Watson turned off the ignition and pushed the car away from the gate. Watson next cut the screen of a window, then told Caspian, I'm going to use her first name, Linda, to keep watch down by the gate. So Linda walked over to Steve Parent's car and waited. Watson removed the screen, entered through the window, and let Atkins and Krenwinkel in through the front door. He whispered to Atkins and awoke Frykowski, who was sleeping on the living room couch. It was a full house. Watson kicked Frykowski in the head, and Frykowski asked him who he was and what he was doing there. Watson replied, "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business."
Oh my God. So much.
I know. There's so much. On Watson's direction, Atkins and Krenwinkel found the house's 3 other occupants and forced them to the living room. He then began to tie Tate and Sebring together by their necks with a long nylon rope, which he had brought, then slung it over one of the living room's ceiling beams. Sebring protested the murderer's rough treatment of the pregnant Tate, so Watson shot him.
Oh, of course. Yeah, like you do.
Yeah.
This is like overkill out of the gate, by the way. Like
out of the gate.
No pun intended, but it's like you encounter the first guy and it's just like, hey, what are you doing? And we have like stabbery and shooting.
Yeah.
And then this next person just like dares to be like, hey, like you're being rough. And they
She's
shoot
8.5
him.
months
like,
pregnant. Like, please.
Can you please? Yeah. Ugh.
I have a couple questions, but I don't know if you know. But I'm just, it's making me think.
Okay.
Were the other 3 occupants, which would have been Sharon and the other couple, were they sleeping or were they still up partying? Because they were over
sleeping.
there. They were sleeping. So
they were
woke
sleeping
them
because
up.
Frykowski was asleep on the couch. Yeah, it was late. It was after midnight, so they were.
Okay. And at this point, there's been a few shots fired. So do the neighbors not hear anything?
I think from my recollection of Benedict Canyon, it's actually a little bit spread out.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more, it's not as dense as other parts of Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's also that whole thing, like, do you ignore it or do you call? Like, that whole phenomenon of,
Yeah.
what do you do?
It's also, Jen, you said it was a 22.
22.
That is, again, a gunshot is a gunshot. That is also not a particularly loud weapon. Like, a higher caliber weapon is going to make just a larger bang. So depending on...
And the car was on. The ignition of the car was on at the time.
Depending on how the sound carries and all
And it was
that.
at the gate, so it wasn't too close to the house.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I would be like, what is that?
So Watson had just shot Sebring. Folger, the heir to the Folger's fortune, who's just someone's girlfriend, was taken momentarily back to her bedroom for her purse, and she gave the murderers $70. So I guess she's trying, they're trying to get out.
Yeah, like, here, take my money.
They're trying to do
just
whatever
go.
you want. Yeah. Watson then stabs Sebring 7 times. So he's been shot, and now he's been stabbed 7 times. Sebring. Frykowski's hands had been bound with a towel, but he freed himself and began struggling with Atkins, who stabbed at his legs with a knife. This is grisly. Like, this scene is insane. He fought his way out the front door and onto the porch, but Watson caught up with him, struck him over the head with the gun multiple times, stabbed him repeatedly, and shot him twice.
And the women are watching this happen.
Yes.
I mean, the victim women and the crazy women, but the Sharon, Tate, and the Folgers.
And Abigail Folger. Yeah.
Abigail Folgers are watching. I mean, I can't even imagine the fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how, and we're talking about this obviously in detail, but also how quickly this happened. Like, this is a very compressed timeline, and it's like you're coming out of a dead sleep. You're just in complete shock of like, wait, what is this? What's happening? Oh, I'm like being tied up. Like, oh, people are being shot. Like, it's
there are 3 strangers in my house.
Yeah. Like,
you probably leave your body at some, you know what I mean? Kind of like, this can't be real.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Just horrifying.
Yeah. So Linda Kasabian had heard horrifying sounds and started moving towards the house. Because remember, she was down by the gate keeping watch from her position in the driveway. She told Atkins that someone was coming in an attempt to stop the murders. So she says.
Wait. So Linda Kasabian, she is part of the Manson family.
Yes.
But at the same time, I've heard other stuff about various, like, were they on drugs? Were they not on drugs? How many drugs? But she is having maybe second thoughts, it sounds like, or is chickening out. Like, it's like, oh no, we're going to get caught.
The reality of it is setting in.
Yeah.
Or did they even know what was going to happen when they got there? Like, was she told? Because she was out by the gate. So maybe the other gals knew, but maybe she didn't.
Well, and it sounds like, based on what you said initially, Jen, and I didn't know this, that Charles Manson had only instructed Tex specifically in what he wanted. It wasn't like, he's like, hey, we're all going to have a team meeting, and then you're going to do
Tex,
this.
And he said, you're going to do what Tex tells you to do.
Interesting.
So,
Okay.
So inside the house, Folger escaped from Krenwinkel and fled out a bedroom door to the pool area. Krenwinkel pursued her and caught her on the front lawn, where she stabbed her and tackled her to the ground. Watson then helped kill her. Her assailant stabbed her a total of 28 times. Frykowski struggled across the lawn, so he's been stabbed and shot at this point.
He's still alive.
But he's still alive.
Oh,
but Watson continued to stab him, killing him. Frykowski suffered 51 stab wounds.
Oh my God.
And had also been struck 13 times in the head with the butt of Watson's gun, which bent the barrel and broke off one side of the gun grip, which was recovered at the scene.
Oh my gosh. So this would mean, so if you have bent the barrel, this also means you can't fire this gun anymore, because that's an important detail.
I would assume so, yeah.
But like, it's so interesting. I think we forget this sometimes, but like, depending on the size of the weapon and where you stab, but generally when you stab someone, it's not like in movies or TV. It's sort of like, oh, you get shot and you just sort of like, you fall over immediately and you're dead, and that's it. Usually, like, when someone stabs you, again, not that it can't happen, but you die because you essentially leak to death. Like,
Correct.
You lose blood pressure from the volume of blood loss. Like, that is how you usually expire. It's exsanguination. And so, like, 51 stab wounds, like, that is a lot. I'm sure that doesn't count things that were probably, not to say that being stabbed is ever a minor deal, but like, he probably received like, quote, like non-fatal stab wounds, like in the arm, or like on, like, the whatever, somewhere where it wasn't
painful.
Yeah.
But like that volume of stab wounds, like that's like, there's no way. Yeah.
There's no way you're gonna survive that. In the house, Tate pleaded to be allowed to live long enough to give birth, because she's 8.5 months pregnant, and offered herself as a hostage in an attempt to save the life of her unborn child. But both Atkins and Watson stabbed Tate 16 times, killing her.
Huh.
And consequently,
Her baby. Yeah. Do we know? I think one of the stab wounds I'd heard somewhere, it actually like it punctured her lung.
In the stomach.
Yeah.
Her lung and her heart, I think, were both like punctured with the stab wounds.
The coroner's inquest found that Tate was still alive when she was hanged with the nylon rope.
Really?
Although the cause of her death was determined as a massive hemorrhage. While in Sebring's murder, it was found that he was hanged lifeless. So he was already dead.
I don't think I ever knew that because again, it's like you assume that that volume of blood loss is what's going to get you.
And it's still what killed her ultimately.
Right, but that was even a detail that they were like, oh, by the way, well, and like you said at the outset, Jen, the goal was to make the scene as shocking as possible.
Shocking and awful as possible, yeah. According to Tex Watson, Manson had told the women to leave a sign, something witchy. Atkins wrote pig on the front door in Tate's blood. Atkins claims she did this to copycat the murder scene of Gary Hinman in order to get Manson family member Bobby Busole out of jail, who was in custody for the murder. And we'll get into that.
Different murder.
Different murder. He had written political piggy in Hinman's blood on his wall after stabbing him to death. So there is a theory that the reason this was done was to get this guy out of jail.
I've heard I haven't heard that. It's the race war starting
We're going to get to that too. There are numerous theories.
Okay.
This is also, I think, a lot of, multiple things being true at once too, because you're also dealing with, and again, not to make it pejorative, but crazy people, in a lot of senses of the word, where it's like, this is not to say that, crimes are rational, but like, this is not a well thought out, like, oh, we're super smart and we're super strategic. No. Like, no, this is just capital C crazy.
They didn't care if they got caught. It didn't matter. Okay. So in initial confessions to cellmates, Atkins said she killed Tate. In later statements to her attorney and before a grand jury, Atkins indicated Tate had been stabbed by Tex Watson. So there's also a lot of this stuff going on, right? And were they on drugs? Were they not on drugs? Do they actually remember? Are they covering for each other?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Well, who did what and when, and also what was at stake at different points in the criminal proceedings, because that also had a lot to do, I'm sure, with what people were willing to admit to, because like it's fascinating, like a lot of other cults, like there were for a long time, and I mean there were people who were part of that family, maybe not who were the committers of these murders, but like stood by Charles Manson and stood by the family, and even for like decades. I mean,
decades.
Just the cult of personality really cannot be overstated there. So also, like, were they still like buying into like, no, like, we were like justified in doing this, or was there an immediate like, oh shit, like what have I been a part of?
Oh,
like,
I think it was, I don't think that there was a oh shit. I think that because if you look at their behavior throughout the trial, they all were singing together and shaved their heads and then drew the swastikas on their forehead to appeal to Manson's good graces.
The women did.
Yes,
correct.
yes.
Tex Watson went a different way pretty quickly, which I find very interesting too, Olivia, where it's like, how, and like, Jen, maybe you'll get into this, but like, how were the men and the women sort of radicalized in this group in different ways? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
On August 10th, they struck again. We have to mention this. We're not going to get into it. But this time with Charles Manson joining the group at the home of Lino and Rosemary LaBianca. So these are known as the Tate-LaBianca murders.
Yes.
Watson stabbed Lino, and he, Krenwinkel, and another Manson family member named Leslie Von Houten stabbed Rosemary. The theory here, one of the theories, is that Manson may have wanted money from Lino, a grocery store chain owner who liked to gamble, to pay off the straight Satans who were still angry about getting their money back for some bad deal that had happened. So there's like a drug deal thing going on in Manson. They think.
Oh, and so Manson owed them money?
Yes. And he was trying to get money from them. So Tate's body and the body of everyone else in the house on Celio Drive, they were discovered on August 9th, 1969. So they were discovered, and then the next murder happened. So,
and right up the way, because there was also
right there.
There was also some question about, again, if they were doing this to try to exonerate Bobby Beausoleil and say, you got the wrong person for this other murder. There is a different murderer who's on the loose.
He's on the loose. Rampage.
Then you have these two murder scenes, effectively like right in the same area, right in the same neighborhood. I mean, Jen, I don't know if you have the distance in front of you, but like this was like super, very close by.
I'll look it up.
So it's also then, the theory of like, oh no, like there's another killer. And was this about money, or was this simply about like you chose another house that you were kind of familiar with in the area to make it look like there's just another crazed killer, like at large, like, and you weren't terribly choosy about who this was. It was like, oh yeah, we're that house, like that we've been there. That one looks good. Yeah.
So a few months after the bodies were discovered, Charles Manson and several of his followers were arrested for suspected auto theft. It's like it's like getting Al Capone on tax evasion.
Tax evasion.
It's like Ted Bundy was like stopped for like erratic driving. What? So,
like why? Yeah.
Oh wow,
So,
I didn't know that.
So after they were arrested for suspected auto theft, one of the Manson family members involved, Susan Atkins, told her cellmates that theft was not the limit of their crimes. And that confession is what led authorities to connect the group to the murders.
Oh.
Jailhouse snitch.
Yep. So the 5 perpetrators, Atkins, Krenwinkel, Manson, Van Houten, and Watson, were each tried and convicted for their roles in the Tate-LaBianca murders. Originally, each defendant received a death sentence. Every single one of them.
Yep.
However, in 1972, the Supreme Court of California ruled in the People versus Anderson that the state's then current death penalty laws were unconstitutional. So as a result, the Anderson decision spared the lives of 107 death row inmates in California, including Charles Manson and these 4 family members.
So again, they were initially given a death sentence, but the death penalty was it was suspended. It hasn't been revoked, or I know it's suspended currently. Like they haven't executed anybody in 20 years, but they could in theory.
But what happened then because of that was that they were each given a life in prison sentence, which by law includes the possibility of parole.
Parole, yeah. I remember when,
Yeah, because spoiler alert, some of these people are out.
Yep.
Living among us, just like what's his bucket who tried to kill Reagan. Oh my gosh, my brain. John Hinckley.
Yes.
Hinckley.
For Jodie Foster, right.
Yes, Hinckley is out and walks among us. Not us here in Florida, but he could go on vacation. Like it's possible.
Don't suggest that.
Stay
we
safe,
don't want to plant
Jodie.
that seed.
Stay safe, Jodie.
Jody's like, I have so many other real problems
to worry about, not this idiot.
All right, so we'll go through all of our perpetrators here. So Susan Atkins, she passed away in 2009 of brain cancer at age 61. At the time of her death, she was California's longest serving female inmate. Atkins had been denied parole 14 times, and her request for compassionate release also was denied.
Yeah. That's what happens when you kill a pregnant woman.
Right.
Even if you're a woman, people are generally like, no, not you.
Sorry you have brain cancer, but you're going to stay right
Some
here.
people don't deserve compassionate anything.
No. I agree.
And again, the nature of the crime, I think, also has a lot to do with is a parole board going to consider, compassionate release? It's like, what did you do? Like, are we talking like white collar crime? It's like, you stole from rich people. Like, get out of here. But when you have brutally murdered a pregnant woman, it's like, no, I don't care who you are. I don't care what's happening. You're gonna serve out that entire sentence. Yeah.
So Patricia Krenwinkel was imprisoned in 1971, and she remains incarcerated. Following the 2009 death of Susan Atkins, Krenwinkel is now the longest incarcerated female inmate in the California penal system. Mm-hmm. She's been denied parole 15 times, most recently in 2025. Mm-hmm. Following revisions to California parole laws and policy changes by the sitting LADA, Los Angeles DA, a parole panel, no, it's true.
LADA.
LADA.
It's fun to say.
A parole panel recommended her release for the first time in May 2022. However, this parole recommendation was overturned by California Governor Gavin Newsom. Who had previously overturned the parole recommendation for Manson family member Leslie Van Houten. Mm-hmm. So he said, no, thank you.
Yep.
You're not getting out.
Not happening.
Not happening. Charles Manson remained imprisoned until his death from cardiac arrest resulting from respiratory failure and colon cancer on November 19th, 2017. He was just a few days past his 83rd birthday. I know, so sad. And had spent all but 13 years of his life in some sort of supervised setting, either a prison, a reformatory, or a boys' home.
Which is crazy. Like when you think about, okay, you lived into your 80s.
Yeah.
And you spent all but not even a decade and a half of that time institutionalized.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
woof. Like that.
Yeah.
Manson was denied parole 12 times while he was in prison. And after 1997, he refused to attend any of his parole hearings.
Oh, he tapped out.
He tapped out.
I think he knew he wasn't.
He knew,
Why
yeah.
go through
He's
the
like,
dog?
I'm
What
Marilyn
is it?
Manson.
Dog and pony show.
Yeah.
But like we just said, it seemed like he did better in prison. Like this was like this is the environment where, for better or worse, you were thriving. Because Jen, I don't know if you had the bandwidth or you're going to talk much about Manson's life outside of prison, like
a little
this, but like in general, this is a man who failed at everything he ever tried. Like this was just a loser, and
yeah.
I mean that feels pejorative, but like he failed at everything. He wasn't, and he was almost like borderline illiterate. So he tried like forgery at one point. And I remember reading someone was like, this is a weird crime for someone who is illiterate to try forgery because like spelling matters. Like, why would you pursue this? But he was not even good at being a criminal. Like he wasn't this mastermind. Like he was just sort of bad at all the things. So it's like, this honestly is probably like the best kind of life you can have. Like you're not on the street. Like, you know where your meals are coming from. You sleep in the same place every night. Like prison is probably, and he still had his adoring fans on the outside.
He sure did. Probably dancing just like Keith Raniere outside of his cell. And, and we'll get into it because one of the motives has to do with one of the things he failed at stupendously. So
sex.
Okay. No. There's not a lot of sex in this one, in fact.
Well, except
I'm sure there was at Spawn Ranch, but I'm not talking
That's what
about
I was going to say. Yes, there
was a lot of sex. I'm just not going to talk about it because they don't deserve that good stuff.
Well, Jen, I'll just say only because I rewatched one of the many documentaries about this, but like they interviewed a lot of people. This is on the 3-part like Peacock documentary that came out a couple years ago, and they interviewed people who were in the family, and men and women who are like, they're alive today, and they're these like, they're probably like in their like 70s, I'm gonna guess, and they all talk about this like it's very matter of fact, but it sounds like unusually for a cult, even though you can say like, yes, people were being groomed and or manipulated, and there was a lot of stuff that's like but most of the sex related stuff, it did seem overwhelmingly consensual. Where it wasn't like, unlike a Nixium or some of these other things where it was like, this is like
but
really
I think
predatory.
It's also because he fed them LSD all the time.
Sure.
And so they were also strung out. Consensual, but because he also, the men and women, he had sex with all of them.
But they were also, I guess this is my point, where unlike other cults where it is mostly like it's just all about the leader is the one who's benefiting from it, like it really did sound like these people are describing it now. They're like, no, everyone was pretty much doing whatever they wanted with everybody. And they even said at one point, like, Charles Manson sought out more men to join the family because he could not keep up with the demand for all these women like wanting to get with him. So he's like, we need some more penises in the mix.
Yeah.
Like,
I wonder if it's also though the times, because it
that's
was
what
all
I was
about
gonna say.
free
It's the
love,
60s.
right? And so that was just very
Not to say nobody, but nobody on this documentary that I watched, none of these adults, particularly the women, in any way were like, the woman was just like, oh yeah, like I was like super young and it was like, bad. And I look back now and was like, oh yeah, I was sort of being manipulated, but none of them felt like they did not choose that. And they're like, oh no, like I picked this. I was thrilled. Like, and I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what a disaster. But at the time they're like, yeah, like I was 17 and like, I thought this was great.
It's just like mistakes they made in college, right? Like,
more like that, and less like, oh my god, like it wasn't like, oh, I was kidnapped from
the sex.
Yeah, it's like I was kidnapped from my home and I was forced to do this. Like, no, I went and I loved it. Like, is how they talk about it, which is fascinating. Even now, like they have had decades to reflect on this, but even now, how much. And again, it's like, not. I don't think there's such a thing as a good cult, but at the same time, it's interesting that was maybe not a feature of the manipulation, and it was really more about the like overall like mind control. Like, it was almost in the background, I guess. Like it wasn't it wasn't
in the foreground. It wasn't the way of manipulation.
Yeah,
which a lot of cults use it as. Yeah, it was just part of the way they lived.
Yeah, it seemed like the manipulation was more rooted in the vernacular, and then also enhanced by drugs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because he manipulated people from.
He did.
Sorry, but he manipulated people from prison, like even without drugs. Like he was behind bars, and people were still under the spell, which says like this is about the charismatic leader and like this message in the vernacular. It doesn't even have to do with like drugs or sex, because obviously he's in prison now, and like. Didn't he get married in like 2016? And there was a big thing that went around like, it's Thanksgiving and you have to explain to your relatives how you're still single, but Charles Manson just got married like from prison. Didn't this happen like before, like right before he died? I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, he did. He married a 26-year-old woman. Yep. That happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
In 2014.
2014. 26 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Ha!
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I sidetracked us. I had to comment.
It was still very much on point. We're just jumping back in. So, Leslie Van Houten, who, upon her conviction and death sentence in 1971, at the age of 21, she was the youngest woman ever put on California's death row, as well as the youngest member of the Manson family convicted of murder. Her original conviction and death sentence was overturned on appeal. So she was later retried and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. She was released on parole on July 11th, 2023, after being denied parole 22 times. So she's out.
She is out.
She's out. Charles Tex Watson. Remains incarcerated.
Yeah, he does.
He's been denied parole 17 times, most recently in 2021. While imprisoned, Watson claims that he's become a born-again Christian.
Oh, here we go. And that makes you not violent at all.
At all. Yeah, right? No, the most unviolent religion of all. Yeah. In his 1978 autobiography, because of course he has one, Tex said that he did indeed stab Tate and that Atkins had never touched her. So this is some of that convoluted stuff that went back and forth. Yeah. Since he was aware that the prosecutor and the jury that had tried the other Tate-LaBianca defendants were convinced Atkins had stabbed Tate, he falsely testified that he did not stab her. So he falsely testified in court.
But he's telling the truth now.
Sure. Well, he's a born-again Christian, so.
That's right.
The Lord. Yeah.
The Lord.
Yeah. He prayed about it, and he's like, nope, this is what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So that's kind of all of that. I want to talk a little bit about the socio-cultural impact, because it was huge. Yeah. And then we'll get into some of the motives and things like that. So these murders kind of profoundly shook America's perception of itself, and ultimately was what killed the 60s counterculture. So everybody was like, free love, everything's wonderful. And
Summer
then this
of love.
happened. Yeah, 69.
Literally,
Summer of love.
yeah.
Yep. And this happened, and it just kind of...
It's a damper. Puts a damper on everything, really.
It. And it terrifies everybody.
Yeah.
But there was who is it? The White Album. Joan Didion, who knew Tate, and lived close by to the site of the murders, wrote, "Many people I know believe that the 60s ended abruptly on August 9th, 1969.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it's done.
Yeah.
It's like reality hit real hard.
I think too we're trying specifically like psychedelic drugs were really being used as like party drugs, and like this it's harmless, like you're on a trip or whatever, and then for those same drugs to play a role in this crime where it was like we were like on LSD, we're high out of our minds,
right?
It's like look, like the dark side, like the dark side of like this type of drug use, and then also I think the horror that these essentially, good white kids, these 3 women, no less, and a clean cut, like wholesome, all-American boy.
We'll put pictures up because Tex Watson, 100%, that's exactly what he looks like. You're like, nah.
And you want to think about, and again, this is pre-Bundy, this is pre a lot of like, the other serial killers that, we talk about sometimes, but even like, into the 70s and 80s with Bundy, people were looking for a monster because like, well, if you do something horrible, surely it must be obvious. And then you have these like super clean cut, wholesome looking young people from like good families. And it's like, what? So what like happened? The hand wringing and like the pearl clutching of like, how did it go like this wrong? I think like that'll put the brakes on a lot.
We're back to Charles Manson. So we're going to talk a little bit about, Hollywood and how it affected that, not just because obviously this up and coming starlet was murdered, but some critics have claimed that this murder led to a proliferation of darkly psychosexual conspiracy-laced cultural exploration of America's seedy underbelly by the movie industry. So films like Dirty Harry, things like that, things that people weren't watching or wanting to see before this happened.
Piqued our interest.
Film critic Eric Morse writes that the rapid recognition of Tate's murder and soon after the idolization of her murder, because it was a thing, brought about a dark period of film in Hollywood filled with ultra-violence, gore, Satanism, and freakouts. They called it Manson-sploitation.
Oh, jeez.
There is a word for it, which is defined as the violent, disturbing genre that Hollywood grew fascinated in shortly following the Tate-LaBianca murders.
Wow.
Conversely, and here's a fun little bit of trivia, some producers, such as George Lucas, wanted to stay far away from it.
Sure.
So, originally, in Star Wars, the surname of Luke and Anakin Skywalker was Star Killer. It's in all the screenplays. You can see it.
Oh.
But he was afraid it could be misconstrued as Celebrity Killer. So he changed it.
To
Skywalker.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so he didn't want to be a part of the Manson exploitation.
George.
Yeah, well, he hated Hollywood anyway. He still does, I'm sure.
I know this also...
millions of dollars, so...
Well,
I think, Jen, too, this also coincided with the end of the Hays Code, also in the late 60s, where it was like, hey, like stuff that's like super gory or like violent or sexual.
What's the Hays Code?
Oh, so the Hays Code, it was, I pulled it up because I knew you'd ask me this, Olivia. The Hays Code was the motion picture production code.
Oh, well, the production code I know because of Day in Hollywood, Night in the Ukraine.
Yes. So it was a set of self-censorship, meaning like Hollywood came up with this like themselves, like for their own industry. Like it wasn't like the government or anybody. But it was censorship guidelines for Hollywood films between 1934 and 1968. So like movies from earlier in the 30s like tend to be a little sexier, or like some of the subject matter. It's like these unwed people like spent the night together, like, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, so it was upholding traditional moral standards, banning profanity, nudity, explicit sex, drug use, glorifying crime, and ensuring that movies promoted correct standards of life. So this was where it was like, if there was like a bad guy and they showed a murder, you had to show the bad guy like getting his comeuppance, or like
couldn't get away.
This is a great example. The movie The Postman Always Rings Twice, because what's her face is like an adulterer. Spoiler alert from this movie from the 40s, but because she like commits adultery and like does all these terrible things, at the end of the movie she dies because they're like, we can't let this woman live. Like the production code, like we have to kill her at the end of this movie to uphold the production code that like this woman can't just get away with like
being an adulterer,
being immoral. Yeah. So, but then they did away with that in the 60s. So to your point, Jen, all of a sudden it's like, boobs on screen, maybe,
boobs
shall
on
we?
Screen.
Like,
lots of boobs. Well, Valley of the Dolls,
yeah,
that Sharon Tate was in, was
68.
a movie that very much like pushed the envelope.
Yeah,
it's all about pills,
Yeah.
Hey friends, Jen here, and we hope you're enjoying this episode of Life Upon the Wicked Stage. Just a few quick reminders. If you're looking for any of the visuals that we've mentioned in this or any episode of the podcast, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Wicked Stage Pod or Facebook at Life Upon the Wicked Stage. If you want more, please join our Patreon by searching the Wicked Stage Podcast. There you'll find ad-free episodes, videos of our recordings, mini-sodes, behind-the-scenes content, giveaways, and so much more. And the most important side note, if you like the show, please give us a nice rating wherever you listen. It sounds silly, but it's still the best way to get the word out and support us in this crazy podcast world. Well, lights are blinking, intermission's over, so grab those snacks and another drink and enjoy the rest of the show.
Incredible.
So there's a film scholar, Reed Anderson, and he believes that Tate's image has been substituted with hyper-real depictions of her death in films that have attempted to recreate the Manson family murders. There was and aligning with this, there was also, because of this code, but also because of the murders, there was a sudden emergence of gory film following these murders, and that's that whole Manson exploitation thing.
Yeah.
And they believe that it was the spread of misinformation directly following Tate's murder, Hollywood's near immediate obsession with the details of her murder, and reimagined versions of Tate in Manson exploitation films that resulted in the alliteration of Tate's likeness among her audience as they tried to process the reality of her murder by searching for the most authentic version of her last moments. So like it just became this obsession in America and in Hollywood. And nobody quite knew what was happening because it was getting glorified in these horrible ways.
So
Is
wild.
that like the first time that something like that happened?
Yeah, kind of. It sounds like it. I mean, I didn't have like that direct quote, but it sounds like it to me. Yeah.
Well, even if we think about just things that we've covered just on this podcast,
Like
or things that
Dahlia,
we know are on our list,
Yeah.
but in terms of a celebrity, there had been other celebrity deaths, I think, that were arguably bigger, like Marilyn Monroe had already died at this point. But when you talk about murder, and to your point, Jen, like the grisliness of this,
so grisly.
This feels unprecedented, because like there were other cases where it's like, yeah, this person was stabbed, and found in the dark alley, but it was more of just a quick where they usually like knew who the person was, or someone like died mysteriously, or maybe someone lesser like the Black Dahlia 40 years prior was extremely grisly. But this was also someone who was not a public figure.
Nobody knew
in
who she was.
the
She
same
was a
way.
stranger,
She
really.
became famous because she died, not because
Right.
of anything she
Of
did
who
when
she
she was
was.
alive. And again, at the same time, even just the way we had television now and the way like media carried the information had also evolved, I think, so much.
Yeah.
So to have photos of this, to be able to talk about this on television, I think you're right, Jen. It's unprecedented in the nature of the crime, but then also the coverage.
It just feels like it's like everybody knew who Sharon Tate was. right? So it immediately grabbed their attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I go back to too because of the level of celebrity and the timing of it. And then you have the added feature of like, and this was a beautiful woman doing the most womanly thing you can, about to like give birth.
Yeah.
I think that adds just another layer of, I think both horror and also fascination onto it. And, you know, again, like true crime, it's a lot of women, I think, have always been interested in that. But it does, you know, it's ultimately rooted in this very primal place of, that could be me.
Yes.
Let me study this so it doesn't happen to me.
We're just studying. We're just making sure we're going to be okay. That's it.
I'm going to go through every possible scenario.
Yeah.
I was buying some household article recently, and I like laughed in the store, but I was like looking at different things. I was like, oh, that's a nice one. That's a nice one. I forget what it was, and it doesn't even matter. But I was lifting one. I was like, oh, this is a very heavy. I was like, this is a nice, a blunt instrument. I was like, this would be good to like have around if there's like an intruder, just like a nice blunt instrument, easy to wield, like for me, like in like defense, like. But these are things like you think of.
You think about
as a
walking to your car. You know how to hold your keys in case you have to stab someone in the neck. I mean, it's what we live with every day.
We live with it every single day. Have one headphone out. Don't ever have both of them in when you're walking.
Earphones
yeah. These are things that we just sort of do, and it's like you're not even really overthinking it. Where it's like, oh, are you just like you're being crazy? It's like, no, this is just like an automatic. Like this is like a hardwired response.
All right. Ladies, are you ready to get into the possible murder motives?
I'm ready.
Because I'm only familiar really with the helter-skelter race war, and they were going to like reemerge in this new world, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't know there was really others. So I'm interested to hear this.
There's more than you think, Olivia. And Jen, I know one I'm sure you're going to bring up. But Olivia, you're not ready because this won't be on your bingo card.
Aliens.
Okay. Aliens. No. Okay. So, possible murder motives. At trial and in later bestsellers, the prosecutor argued that the murders were intended to promote a race war called helter-skelter. Others argue the murders were simply an attempt to free family member Bobby Basole, who had been arrested for the murder of Gary Hinman, by creating copycat crimes to convince authorities that Hinman's real murderers were still at large. Others suggest even simpler motives, that the murders were about drugs or intimidation of Terry Melcher. And we'll get into it. So, helter-skelter. We'll start with the biggest one, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't dive too far into these because we'd be here all night.
Yes.
Yes.
We do have to eat dinner at some point.
At some point. Okay. Helter-skelter. In November 1968, the Manson family had established headquarters in Death Valley at the Myers and Barker ranches. So that is the Spawn Ranch. It was like an old movie ranch.
Yep.
They used to make movies there.
Westerns.
Exactly. And it was one of them was owned by the grandmother of family member Catherine Gillies. So like there's a connection.
Crazy.
Right? Yeah. According to Charles Watson, Tex, and Paul Watkins, Manson and Watson visited an acquaintance who played the Beatles' double album, the White Album, and became obsessed with the group.
Yes.
Watkins claimed Manson had been saying that racial tensions between blacks and whites were about to erupt, predicted that black Americans would rise up in rebellion, and that the Beatles' songs foretold it, all in code.
And isn't that where the phrase helter-skelter came from, the song?
Yeah. There's a song called Helter-Skelter. It's about a slide that Paul McCartney used to slide down as a child. It's a slide.
Clearly, Jen, you're missing the larger allegory.
I
of
am.
The slide.
I'm so sorry, Paul.
And the Beatles, I believe, at the time and in the ensuing years, are well on record of like, yeah, this isn't written in code. Like, we're not telling anyone anything. Like,
the Beatles are like, yo, we're just over here making some.
We're just writing songs.
Yeah.
And
making some drugs. We're making some songs. I am
having
the
a
walrus.
lot of sex with a lot of ladies. Don't
Right.
bring us into this shenanigans. Yeah.
Yeah. According to Watkins, by February, the family would create an album whose songs would trigger the predicted chaos. So they were going to create an album.
Because he was a failed musician.
He is, and we're going to get into it.
He wanted to be a rock star.
It's part of one of the motives. So murders of whites by blacks would be met with retaliation. A split between racist and non-racist whites would result in the whites' self-annihilation. So that's what helter-skelter is. And that's what they say. That's what the prosecutor was like, this is what he was afraid of.
Well, and also as part of their, like, there's going to be a race war. This was also part of the reason of, like, why are you, like, living out on this ranch in the middle of nowhere? And they were actually even looking, I think, for places to live that were more remote. Because they're like, we'll be the only ones left after the war. And we're going to have to repopulate the earth. Like, it was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Very us versus them.
Yeah. Very us versus them. Yeah. So, all right, let's see. Here we go. We're going to go into the next one. My dog is barking. I hope
I hear him. Fitzy.
Fitzy.
By the way, Jen's in her new house.
I am in my new house, and Fitz has a window now that he likes to look out and bark at everyone. But he's having a good time. So, and then to continue here with helter-skelter for a second, the prosecutor said that to the jury, one of his final comments to the jury was, helter-skelter was Charlie's religion. A religion that he lived by. To Manson, helter-skelter was the black man rising up against the white men and then the black-white war. So, yes, and Ashley, like you said, Manson and his followers believed they'd ride the war out in the desert and then return to lead in the newfound world.
Like a post-apocalyptic world they were going to...
Yeah.
In their delusion.
Yeah, exactly.
Lead poisoning.
Okay. So the next is the cover-up theory, the copycat. Okay, so according to family members Susan Atkins, Patricia Kernwinkle, Leslie Van Houten, and Bobby Beausoleil, and others, the arrest of Beausoleil for the torture and murder of Gary Hinman was the catalyst for the family's ensuing murder spree. They wanted to convince police that the killer or killers of Hinman were still at large. Truman Capote's interview of Beausoleil and that by Anne Louise Barduck in November 1981 affirmed this account. So that's what they're saying. Yeah, so that's the copycat, right? All right.
What spawned that first murder? I don't know as much about that one.
I don't know. I don't know.
Jen didn't research that part. That's frankly ancillary to the.
Correct.
Curious.
Probably, there's a small part of my brain, that kind of remembers reading something about drugs.
Yeah, I'm sure that had a lot to do with all
which
of this,
is what we're going into next.
Okay, drugs.
So,
I thought
drugs.
it was aliens.
Another motive.
I'm bummed.
So, some people suggested that the motive was related to the drug dealing by Jay Sebring and Frykowski and their connection with Charles Watson, Tex, and Manson, and a bad drug deal. For instance, Sebring's protege, Jim Markham, believes the murders were in response to a bad drug deal the day before, in which Manson went to Tate's house to sell marijuana and cocaine to Sebring and Frykowski. Instead, the two men attacked and beat Manson. In an interview with police, Frykowski's friend... These names. Frykowski's friend, Witold Kazanowski, said that Frykowski had been involved with many criminals and the drug trade. In his later interview, Bobby Beausoleil, the one with Truman Capote, Bobby Beausoleil said they burned people on dope deals, Sharon, Tate, and that gang. So, yeah.
Is that true, though, that he went to the house? Like, is that proven that he went to the house the day before and was beaten up? Or...
No, it's just a theory.
Oh, okay.
It's a theory.
Just to circle back real quick, because speaking of drugs, Olivia, you asked about the Hinman murder by Bobby Beausoleil, and like, what was that about?
Thank you.
That was in fact about drugs. It was about drugs and money. And basically, Manson believed that Gary Hinman owed him money because of a drug deal gone bad, and was you owe me this money. And he also there was like a rumor that Hinman had also like just come into a bunch of money from like something else unrelated. So he's like, oh, he's got plenty of money. Let's like essentially go rob him as like retribution. So he sent Beausoleil to do that, and Beausoleil murdered him. Yeah. Yeah, but it was related to, again, acting under orders from Manson was like, hey, this guy, like, you know, this guy screwed me over. You should go and get that money from him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
All right. The next is Terry Melcher. So
Terry
Melcher. So
Terry Melcher. Dun, dun, dun.
Da, da, da. In 1968, musician Dennis Wilson, so that's one of the Beach Boys.
The Beach Boys.
I thought it was Brian Wilson.
There's more than one Wilson.
Wouldn't it be
In the
nice
Beach Boys?
if we were older?
Are they related?
He introduced record producer Terry Melcher to Charles Manson.
Oh.
For a time, Melcher was interested in recording Manson's music, as well as making a film about the family and their hippie commune existence.
It's like the Partridge Family,
Yeah.
but like the Manson family.
So Manson met Melcher at 10050 Celio Drive, where the murders took place, a house that Melcher shared with his girlfriend, actress Candace Bergen. That's right, Murphy Brown herself.
Yes.
Yikes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, I think, Jen, are you also going to say who Terry Melcher is related to?
No, go ahead.
Terry Melcher is Doris Day's son.
Whoa.
This is just like a star-studded, like in every
nightmare.
direction.
He is intertwined, and we'll go into some of the intertwinings with a whole lot of Hollywood and a whole lot of music. Charles.
So he
in so
thought
many ways.
they were gonna get a record deal and a TV show.
That's what he wanted. He wanted a record deal. He wanted to be a musician. Charles Manson wanted to be a musician.
Mansons.
Right.
Well, and
People say
Terry
they like
Melcher, one of the I think that same documentary I mentioned earlier, the family was like, they were united via, you know, Charlie's direction, but to like court Terry Melcher to join the family because they were like, oh, you would be like an amazing like resource and like a spokesperson and like legitimizing for us. Like you are a way of bringing money into this outfit because if, you know, that the music becomes like a big thing, then you're going to fund a race war, you know, and like other things we need. Like,
so Manson eventually auditioned for Melcher, but he declined to sign Charles Manson.
Because he sucked.
Wasn't that great?
Yeah. There was still talk of a documentary being made about the Manson's music and the family, but Melcher abandoned the project after witnessing Manson fighting with a drunken stuntman at Spawn Ranch. Because that used to be Spawn Ranch is where they lived.
I know.
And it used to be an old Hollywood thing. So he was up there and he saw it and he was like, this guy's dangerous. I'm done.
Spawn Ranch, I think, I think it was still Olivia. Like it was technically still like sort of operational, but very defunct. Like if you wanted to just go like ride a horse on the weekend, that was still happening at Spawn Ranch.
It was.
Oh, I thought it was totally abandoned.
No. That's a
guy that owned it still lived there.
But he was blind, and the family was taking advantage of him. And they're like, oh, we're going to just like send this like 20-year-old woman to like have sex with you, blind octogenarian. Like, you happy with that? Like, can we stay?
They kept him busy. Yep. Yeah.
He's like, you kids make yourselves at home.
Literally. Yeah. It's very upsetting, but also, yes. But yeah, it was still a functional, we're going to put business in air quotes, but
quote,
like,
unquote, yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, we like rolled up to like this like abandoned place. Like it was technically still a business.
So after this kind of happened, when Melcher was like, no, I'm not going to sign you, he and Dennis Wilson severed their ties with Manson. And that really pissed Charles Manson off. Mm-hmm. So soon after that, Melcher and Bergen moved out of the Celio Drive home. The house's owner then leased it to film director Roman Polanski and his wife Sharon Tate. Manson was reported to have visited the house on more than one occasion, asking for Melcher, but was told that Melcher had moved. So he knew that Melcher had moved, which is very, very important. Mm-hmm. So some authors, some law enforcement personnel have theorized that the Celio house was targeted by Manson as revenge for Melcher's rejection and that Manson was unaware that he and Bergen had moved out. Right. However, family member Tex Watson stated that Manson and company did, in fact, know that Melcher was no longer living there. And Melcher's former roommate, Mark Lindsay, stated, Terry and I talked about it later, and Terry said Manson knew that Melcher had moved out because Manson or someone from his organization left a note on Terry's porch in Malibu. So he knew where he lived.
Interesting.
Also.
I didn't know that part.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yes.
So then why?
Okay.
You're getting there. Okay.
I am getting there. Basically, he wanted to scare Melcher.
Yeah. Intimidation. Yeah.
He wanted to be like, you didn't sign me, watch what I can fucking do to you.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yes. That's why.
Wow. So it wasn't even that he was targeting, Sharon Tate or, the Folgers or anybody else, regardless of who had moved into that house. He said, hey, go to this address, kill, like you said, kill, whoever's inside, like make it crazy. And it was just, it happened to be these people, but it could have been anyone. It could have been civilians, could have bought that house. But because it was the address, and it had been previously owned by him, it was, like you said, Jen, this was like a very elaborate, like horse head in the bed kind of thing.
Yeah,
I mean, it is a bizarre coincidence that he had these relations with Terry Melcher. That was Terry Melcher's former residence. I mean, that is really strange, unless in his mind he just knew the address, and in his LSD lead poisoned head he just was like, just do this address. But that's really interesting.
He had visited there because he knew
and he'd
Terry
been there,
Melcher.
right?
Yeah. Tex Watson also frequently visited the residence, so he knew how to get in.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Huh. Yeah.
Is this the random bingo card one, Ashley, you mentioned, or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
It seems
the music industry is rough, man. It's rough.
Yeah.
It just seems, of all of them, in my opinion, Jen, this one to me seems the most likely.
I agree.
And 100%. I
100%.
think some of the other things about, like, the race war or some of these other pieces, this feels either tertiary or more just like, this is something to say. It's like part of our talking points, like after the fact, but it doesn't feel... as far as like the only person making a decision about any of this was Charles Manson.
Right.
And this totally feels like the sort of like crazed, violent, but also petty revenge.
Yes.
Petty
Of like,
revenge.
you wouldn't record my single? I'm going to murder 4 people. Like, what the fuck? Like,
and that's always been a thing too. Like half a century later, people are like, but how much was Charles Manson actually involved in this particular murder? Now, he went to the LaBianca house. He was there, when it happened. But this one, like, how involved was he? So I think helter-skelter and the drug deal and things like that were what his lawyer used to try to make his sentence lighter. I think this is exactly what he did, because he told Tex to do exactly as he said, and he told the women to do what Tex said. So Tex is the only one that knew what was going on.
yeah.
Hanson.
Hanson? They were not involved, Olivia.
Different, much later.
Yeah.
Long hair, but also, no, they love the Lord, those boys. Like,
Those boys.
Very,
do.
very Christian from the
Continue
jump.
to, I think. Sorry. Apologies, Hanson brothers.
Apologies, Hanson. We love you. Okay.
So Manson because didn't he talk about the helter-skelter
Yeah, he did.
stuff? So, and didn't he claim that was the reason? But we're saying that he might have been lying. But didn't he claim that was, like, he actually said that this is why he did it?
He said a lot of things.
Right.
Yeah.
He said a lot of things.
But we're thinking because he was trying to get off by, like, mental defect or something.
Because
that
it's
he
right.
didn't-
I mean, it's the civil rights movement has just happened. Like, that's an easy out.
Right.
There's going to be a race war. I have to protect, it's bullshit.
Right.
Manson is also like, he is the quintessential, like, if you've ever heard like audio recordings of him or seen like there's some really good depictions of him, but Manson is like the ultimate sort of like word salad type person, where it's like you ask him like, what day is it, and he's gonna monologue at you for 10 minutes and you're like, I just asked you what day it was, but it's all very like wordy and flowy and like flowery, and it sort of sounds a lot like Keith Raniere. It sounds intelligent and it sounds philosophical, but when you like dissect like the meat of like what did you just say, a lot of it is just like nonsense. But it sounds almost like pseudo intellectual. But like I heard
maybe I'm too dumb to understand what he's saying.
Right.
He's not an evil genius, unlike Keith Raniere, who was like, I'm like I'm like a smart person. I think Manson's IQ was like 109, which is just like at like average.
That's bad.
Like nothing's special happening there, but like between that and some other things, like different profilers have said like he like scores as like a psychopath, but just like a very straightforward psychopath where it's like he's gonna say and do a lot of things, but at the end of the day he is not a complicated person. And like if you just really look at the meat of like what did he wanted
to be famous. He wanted to be famous.
Yeah, like what
that
did
was
he?
one of his driving factors.
He would have been a social media like influencer.
Yeah,
totally.
Today.
Yeah, but it's like, what did he want and what did he do? They're like, he is just a very pure psychopath.
Yep.
And like Jen, you were saying at the beginning, like this was a person who, like, you know, he wanted to be in the music industry, and he tried all these things and was a failure and was really only good at being institutionalized. Yeah. But I think there's a thing where it's like there were only two emotions in the world, and they are love and fear. And he tried love. He tried like the hippie movement, and when that didn't work out for him, he went for fear. Like he tried
disguised as love.
Yeah, he tried like, oh, like just, you know, we're all one and peace and love, and like join my family, join my whatever, and then he went for fear and manipulation because you know his utopia he wanted to build and his music empire were a failure.
Wow. So we're getting towards the end here, but I do want to make some random ties with Charles Manson and the musicians and actors in Hollywood because it goes pretty deep.
I'm ready.
It's kind of fascinating. So Dennis Wilson, as we have already talked about, he is the co-founder of the Beach Boys.
With Brian Wilson.
As a drummer and backing vocals. So he was the drummer. Apparently, he was driving through Malibu in 1968 when he picked up two hitchhikers, Ella Jo Bailey and Patricia Krenwinkel.
Wait,
according to the website.
Wilson picked them up.
Wilson
not
picked
Manson.
them up. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how he met them, because he took them to Spawn Ranch. So he later like saw the girls again hitchhiking. He picked them up again, and while they were in the car with them, they shared with Wilson that they have this spiritual guru named Charles Manson. So then Wilson was introduced to Charles Manson, and over time, the Manson family soon trickled into his rental estate for an extended period of time. So they lived with Dennis Wilson for a while.
They just showed up and squatted.
Just kind of showed up and squatted. Yes.
It was like a more insidious, like Cousin Eddie and Christmas Vacation. It was like,
Yes.
don't you go falling in love with it.
Exactly.
Shitter's full.
Exactly.
It's like, we're taking it with us when we leave next month.
Yeah. So in a 2016 interview with the Wall Street Journal, Beach Boys' Mike Love described Dennis as being under the spell of Charles Manson for a while. He also recalled going to a dinner party with bandmate Bruce Johnston at Wilson's house. He said the Manson family was there and took LSD after dinner.
He dodged a bullet?
He did. He did. And at the same time, of course, as we were talking, that Manson was desperately seeking a contract deal. So he was trying to use Wilson for those connections. Wilson even set up a recording session through the Beach Boys label, Brother Records. However, no one at the label wanted to sign him. So, but he still hung around, so I guess that's why he didn't have a vendetta against Dennis Wilson.
He didn't like overtly snub him or insult him. There was plausible
He tried.
deniability there.
Ugh. There are two other musicians that, because of Manson's connection with Dennis Wilson, knew Charles Manson, and those are Neil Young and Cass Elliot of the Mamas and the Papas.
Crazy.
Wow. So, like Manson attended at least one of Cass Elliott's parties. Neil Young was around Dennis Wilson's house. So he met the girls and he met Charles Manson because they were just squatting there.
Like you said, Olivia, the music industry, it's like so incestuous.
Yeah.
It is rough.
It's rough. Apparently, Neil Young said, he told The Atlantic that after a while, he's at Dennis Wilson's house. He said, after a while, a guy showed up, picked up my guitar, and started playing a lot of songs on it. His name was Charlie.
Yep.
He was a friend of the girls and now of Dennis. His songs were off the cuff things he made up as he went along, and they were never the same twice in a row. Kind of like Dylan, but different because it was
Bob Dylan.
Was hard to glimpse a true message in them. But the songs were fascinating. He was quite good. All right, Neil Young.
Huh.
Neil Young asked if Manson had a recording contract. He told him he didn't yet, but he wanted to make records. So Neil Young told Mo Austin at Reprise about him and recommended that Reprise check him out. Shortly after, the Tate-LaBianca murders happened, and Charlie Manson's name was known around the world. So he had a lot of people trying to help him, and he couldn't do it.
And if he just hung in a little longer, he might have made it.
I know. Or not, because maybe he was just that bad.
What would have happened? I just wonder, like in parallel universe or alternate universe, right? Like he became a singer and had a record contract. Mm-hmm. I think the psychopathic tendencies still would have come out, but I just wonder
In what way?
Yeah.
How
would it have been like P. Diddy? Or would it have been,
Or is he satisfied living up in Spawn Ranch making music with all of the his cult girls,
his sex and boys? People.
What kind of turn would that have taken?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And we have one more, which is kind of crazy. Now, obviously, we had Candace Bergen. Who there's not a lot about it. She was just dating Terry, so she was around, right? But this is the one that is fascinating to me.
Orson Welles.
No, Orson Welles didn't make it. Nope, he didn't kill anybody this time.
Boston Corbett rose from the dead.
Jen Bonner in a Kilroy Was Here by Kevin Smith.
That was a good one.
No, Angela Lansbury.
Murder, She Wrote.
Exactly.
Mrs.
Potts told the Daily Mail in 2014 that her daughter, Deirdre, and son Anthony had gotten involved with the wrong crowds as teenagers and started doing drugs. She said it started with cannabis but moved on to heroin. There were factions.
Whoa, that's quite a leap there.
Yeah. There were factions up in the hills above Malibu that were dedicated to deadly pursuits. It pains me to say it, but at one stage, Deirdre was in with a crowd led by Charles Manson.
No.
Yeah. Lansbury added,
God.
Lansbury added she was one of many youngsters who knew him and they were fascinated. He was an extraordinary character, charismatic in many ways, no question about it. After Lansbury learned of her kids' drug use and daughter's involvement in Manson's cult, she told her husband, Peter Shaw, "We have to leave." Together, they moved the family from her home in Los Angeles to Ireland.
They fully left the country.
They left the country.
Mm-hmm. She could have been part of the whole thing.
Oh
Lansbury revealed, "It fills me with dread when reflecting back on what could have happened to her children had she not initiated the move to Ireland." She packed him up and was like, "We're out of this country."
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good on Angela Lansbury.
Lansbury.
Well, and to spot though the power of the charismatic leader, and between that and friggin' heroin, she was just like, "Nope, I've got to extricate you." Like
she was
that's
so
it.
sweet too, because she said that everybody was like, "Well, why didn't you know they were doing drugs?" And she was like, "Peter and I had we didn't understand what drugs were. We had no experience with them, so we didn't know."
Well, I mean, she called it cannabis, first of all.
I know. She had they had no experience with drugs, so they didn't know what was going on.
Well, and also, if you have, I'm sorry, even we'll say a good parent doing their best, I don't know how old the kids were, but your teen or adult child, try as you may, but 90% of the time, you have no idea or control over what they're doing. Because guess what? They go to school. They have a job. You might have a job. They have probably a bedroom that has a door on it. You do your best, but you really do not know. No. And it's really hard to, as we've seen in a tragic case, like Rob Reiner recently, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, but you have so little control over your adult child. And especially once they're no longer a minor, your ability to just punish them, like discipline them. Like, it's so hard. And then you get like controlled substances into the mix. It's like, you're right, Jen. Like, the only thing she could do was like, I'm literally going to save you from yourself. We're going to leave the country.
Thank God she had the means to do so.
To do it.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they could like both work from there. Yeah, Olivia.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because how many parents know their kids are going down a dark
have the
road
ability
and they
to do it.
Yeah, and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, you don't have the ability to like, move to a different town, let alone like leave the country.
A different country,
like,
right.
Woof.
So yeah. So that is
Easy.
that is the Tate-LaBianca murders. I will say, if any of you are interested in seeing a parallel universe in which Sharon Tate was not murdered, please watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino. It's a fantastic movie.
Very good.
And spoiler alert, she survives.
It's interesting you say that it's fantastic because
You don't like it?
I haven't seen it. Rock and his buddy Carrot Top went to see it when it came out, and Rock said about 45 minutes into the movie, they both looked at each other and were like, "What the hell is going on?"
Oh, it's weird, but it's Quentin Tarantino. So
they didn't. Neither of them understood what the heck was happening. So I never.
They weren't
watched
paying
it.
attention.
I saw it. I saw it in the theater, and Olivia, in their defense, I will
It's
remember.
slow.
It's slow and it's weird, but I do remember at the time when it came out, it was so polarizing.
Yes, it was.
And you either loved it or you hated it, and there was very little middle ground. I will say, regardless of how you feel, that movie did give us what is now the meme of like if you see Leonardo DiCaprio in like the mustard turtleneck, like in the recliner, like pointing at the television. That is from that movie.
That's from that. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to watch it just since we're referencing.
So it gave us
I
that
enjoyed
at the
it.
very least. It also gave us
fascinating.
the debut of now Academy Award winner Mikey Madison from Honora is one of
she's in it?
She's
I
one of the
love
Manson
her.
family. She's
She
in
is.
it. Yeah.
Margot Robbie plays Sharon Tate.
Sharon Tate.
Brad Pitt's in it. Leonardo DiCaprio's
So
in
it's
it.
It's very parallel universe, but also it's like a I'll almost say like a fan fiction.
Yeah.
Of like it's this character who is not a real person.
Yes.
Is inserted into a situation of real people, and by inserting the fictional character, it changes the course of events. Is almost the best way to describe
That's
it.
a great way to describe it. Yes.
Yeah, Jen, that was so dense, and I know we had many a digression, much of which I'm sure will end up on the Patreon. But
So subscribe today.
but my goodness, what just a comprehensive and upsetting. But I'm kind of like
It's horrible.
Well, and it just, I was thinking about like what is the takeaway? Like what can we
Don't
take
do
from
drugs.
this? Don't do drugs,
And
first of all,
And murder.
Eat.
but it's also just one of those things where I think too the we touched on this a little bit earlier too, but it's like aside from the drugs or any of the other stuff, the cult of personality, and how. Like dangerous just that can be. Like Angela Lansbury saw it, and again the hold that Manson had on his followers, but even on people
still does.
Like people who had never even met him until after he was incarcerated, and still like bought into like that cult of personality. I think it's really people want to think we're smart, and we want to think like I would never fall for something like that, but to really just be cautious when someone is like that charismatic figure, and when you are really feeling like just so pulled in, and like the rest of your world and your circle is falling away. Like just I don't know how you guard against that really, but maybe like check in with other people in your life.
If someone's trying to like pull you away from people in your life.
Yeah, or be like, oh,
check in.
Your parents don't know what's going on. Your husband like seems like he's out of touch. Like they isolate you. Like
They isolate you.
Yeah.
Why are we as a species prone to that? Because it seems like watching the Nexium documentary, very, very smart women were pulled in. Is it a survival thing from like ancient tribal? You had to follow the chief and tribe leader. You know what I mean? To survive? Is it?
I think it's even simpler than that, Olivia. I think because most cults at their root of like what is this? Because there's obviously we've talked about other cults on this podcast, and there's a lot of cults that we won't talk about because they don't get into our turf. But like at the end of the day, I think it comes down to purpose and belonging. So it is giving me, the individual, like, you have a purpose and you have a mission and you have work to do, or there is something you're working on yourself, or you are saving the world, or whatever that pitch is. But it is giving purpose, and it is giving belonging to say that you are one of us. You are part of the in-group. You are informed. You are worthy. And I think those two things, because those two things, like we talked about before, like, those are good. Those are good things.
Those are good
like,
things.
No one joins a cult. Like,
nobody joins a cult.
Like, everyone wants to feel like they have purpose, and everyone wants to, like, belong to people. But it's
everyone wants to feel like they're special. And that's what I think the cult of personality does, right? I think that's what those people are good at, is they make you feel special to a point that once they start gaslighting and doing all the bad shit, you've already felt so special that you don't want to leave, and you tell yourself that it's not true.
Right.
Speaking from personal experience.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but you're right, Jen. And then the sunk cost of the pain of then having to walk it back,
what you have to face about yourself.
Yeah, of like, oh my gosh, like, I was fooled, I was taken advantage of. I'm not as smart, or whatever as I thought.
You have to be so much stronger to face all of that.
So much stronger
than just to stay.
Yeah, truly. But it's like when the pain of staying is worse than the pain of leaving. It's like that's when you can break out of it. But like, to have to then admit, like, oh my gosh, I've like lost all my friends, I've lost my family, I lost my job, I'm like living out like on this ranch in the wilderness, like, what is happening? Like and everyone's different, but I do think that cult of personality, it is a unique method of control. And I think like some of the other cults we've talked about, like, like Keith Raniere, there was like literal blackmail, like, that they were using to control people.
Well,
like, okay, that's compelling, like, or like some of these other things. But what cults that are purely cult of personality, it is interesting. And I'll say this, and I would be curious to know from like a statistic standpoint, what has happened with people who were followers of Manson, because usually cults of personality do not survive the death of the leader. Like, they sort of tend to evaporate, because it is all about like this person. And even if they have like a deputy, whatever, or they're like, oh, well, this is my next in line person. It's very rare. Like, it's not about an ideology. It's not about, it's just really about the leader. They don't tend to make it, because it is so about this person's like rhetoric and their persona, and it like hinges on them being able to communicate with the followers. So like, when they die, that is usually when it dissolves.
So there's hope for our country.
You said it, Olivia.
But it's interesting to draw a comparison. Hitler's ideology outlived him. Yeah. So that was a cult of personality, but the Nazism and white supremacy that he launched,
but it was based on an ideology. So I will argue that the ideology was there before, and the ideology stayed. And unfortunately, we've still seen it crop up. I'm like, what do you mean there's Nazis now? Like, I thought, didn't we? We didn't? No?
My God. Right?
Yeah, so something like that, Olivia, you're right. So I think the ideology of that in particular, that to me is a cult of ideology. But I think there are people who, someone like Hitler, by any other name, if you held it up and said, well, how about this? They'd be like, oh, no. But they were bought into that particular leader or like that style. I think that's also like Scientology is like kind of a good one-to-one comparison of that, because like L. Ron Hubbard is obviously dead, but the ideology has carried on, because it wasn't
a counterpoint to that, because I studied Scientology a lot because I was fascinated by it. L. Ron Hubbard, they're waiting for him to come back. So he's dead. However,
like Jesus.
Well done, Jen. As always, this was. What do we have? What else do we have coming up for the listeners to look forward to? Olivia, what's your next one?
I'm going to do one on the art heist that happened in the Gardner Museum, the most expensive art heist in the country to date. Mm-hmm. It might have been in the world at one time, but of course the Louvre has ruined that. Wow. But yeah, so
ruined
the record.
My next one is a case maybe many have not heard of. This is, I kind of like reached into the obscurity pile for this one, but very interesting. Also, spoilers, unsolved. William Desmond Taylor.
Okay.
We are getting back into like Hollywood, like noir. Had the Black Dahlia succeeded in having a career, she and William Desmond Taylor undoubtedly probably would have crossed paths here at some point. Also, had he not been untimely killed. But very interesting. But a quintessential, like it's Hollywood, and like, very get your Mid-Atlantic accent ready. This is
I'll get your Boston accents ready too. So
I'm ready for that too.
Very excited. All right, floozies. Well, we'll do this again next time.
Soon. Yeah.
So soon.
You keep Hanson.
Hanson. Get Hanson out of this. Leave Hanson alone.
Leave Hanson alone. Leave Hanson alone.
And scene.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Wicked Stage Pod.
Follow us on Instagram and check out our Patreon for more exclusive content.
These deliciously wicked episodes drop every other Friday, so make sure you subscribe or follow and don't get left waiting in the wings.